Good afternoon, MLB Pro family. My name's Scott Gessford. I'm the GM of the Sacramento Athletics, and today, well, I'll let you introduce yourself, Jonathan.
Hey, I am Jonathan Hodges, and I am GM of the Atlanta Braves.
How are you doing this afternoon?
Yeah, I'm great, Scott. I appreciate you doing this and let me have a little say.
Hey, we enjoy getting to listen to some of your records from time to time. I appreciate that. So, how was your spring training? I mean, what kind of goals do you usually set for your team during spring training, or do you?
Um, in the past, when I've been in some rebuilding situations, I've probably had more of a goal-oriented spring, but I'll be honest, this year I kind of just let it roll. I didn't do too much like 7-day lineups. A couple of times I would make sure, some certain guys were playing, but mostly I just kind of set it up the chart and let it roll. Just kind of kept watching the results. Of course, there were some positional battles going on, and a few, maybe playing a few guys out of position to see what kind of ratings we got, things of that nature. But really, it was kind of just business as usual, and just kind of trying to get guys innings and plate appearances.
So, were you happy with most of your outcomes, or was there some that kind of shocked you or disappointed you?
There's definitely a couple starting lineup bats that have been pretty cold, but you know, their track record is so concrete that I'm not too worried. I think they'll come around. So I'm not going into the season really, I would say, worried. There's a couple guys that definitely need to pick it up. Bichette, I think is hitting. I'd have to look it up. He's hitting well below 200. I think even below 150 for the spring.
184, 184 as of right now.
184. Okay, so a little better than I thought, but still below 200. And I'm gonna butcher it. Ohayashi, but
Uh-huh.
he had a really cold spring. Reese Hines was pretty atrocious up until the final week, and then he finally did have a couple, at least a couple games, I think, where he had multi hits, so he picked it up a little bit. On the flip side, I was very happy with the bullpen in particular. And the rotation, even though the numbers don't look great, the FIPS were pretty much all pretty solid. And so overall, I'm pretty pleased. No injuries, so that's always a plus.
Yes, that's always a major plus. And most of your rotation are veterans, so they've done this a couple times
Yeah.
before, so they know what they need to do. Um, so as we look back at your the last couple years, 2022, you went 87 and 77, lost in the wild card. 2023, 104 and 58, and lost in the league championship series. And then last year, 86 and 76. Do you think that's an anomaly and you'll kind of bounce back, or do you think you're kind of somewhere in between?
So I will try to speak on this as well as I can, but I didn't take over the Braves until this past season, so I'm only responsible for the crappy season. I can't take any credit for like the league championship year or the year that they lost in the league championship. That said, um, I do believe it was an anomaly. Uh, I do believe that I probably made a mistake trading away Vega and kind of leaving us a defensive hole in center field. I still didn't like his bat that much, and I don't think he was going to, you know, I know that there were a couple of GMs that were shocked that we traded him and thought he was going to be this like perennial all star. I'm not convinced of that. But I do think we missed his defense. And so that was a huge point of attention this offseason was replacing his defense because we were basically playing guys out of position in center field. Nobody was producing, a defensive run save sort of stat above neutral. And I think that really hurt our pitching, both starting and bullpen. And so that definitely is something that I think will improve our entire team this year by improving our center field defense.
You think Eric Rodriguez is that guy?
I do. I'm not going to say he's a perennial all star either. I'm not um, trying to put him on some sort of pedestal, but I do think that he will be greatly improved center field defense, and I think his bat will be fine. We're even going to try him at leadoff to start the year. He had a really good OBP in the spring training. He has good speed, and we don't have a real leadoff kind of guy outside of him in the lineup, so we're gonna give it a shot and roll with it and see how it goes.
That's all you can do sometimes.
Yeah.
Pray for the best. Let's look at your rotation. I'm looking on the game in the latest file. And you have Rod Swift, Walker Bueller, Ian Anderson, Robinson Rivera, and Chris Sale. Is that going to be your five in that order to start the year off?
That is the plan for the order, yes.
And how do you think they'll fare? Because you start off the season with a four-game series at San Diego and then move on to the Dodgers.
Yeah, I feel good about the rotation. I don't think it's going to be the best rotation in the National League by any stretch. I think it's solid all the way through to five. Chris Sale actually had a really good year for us last year. Um, so I think all the way through to SP5, we're strong. Ian Anderson, once we acquired him at the maybe a week or so before the deadline, I can't remember how close it was to the deadline, but when we got Ian Anderson last year, he wasn't great down the stretch for us, but he had an incredible spring. So I feel good about him as being one of the top three. Because you know how it is. It's you build a rotation for the regular season, but it has to be postseason ready as well when you really only need three arms. So I was trying to make sure I felt that we had three arms that could go in the playoffs. Walker Buehler is a little bit of a wild card. He's hot and cold. He had numbers wise, like ERA wise, not a great spring, but if you look at some of the metrics, he actually was quite good. I think he has had some bad luck. So that all said, I feel good going into the season with those five. And we do have at least two arms. I'm not looking at it right now, but we have at least two arms in the bullpen that are starters. We've converted to relievers. So if we do lose an arm to an injury, I have a couple guys ready, or I think there's three arms I think in the bullpen actually that can go into the rotation immediately. And Aiken, Heupel, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, and Cates.
Right. Yep. It's always good to have an arm or two ready to go, just in
Yeah.
case. So how do you feel about your lineup? Has you didn't make that many changes for your lineup for this year outside of Rodriguez.
Yeah, which was definitely pretty intentional. I mean, part of it is a lot of those guys are on big league contracts that are either arbitration or signed for many years. So there wasn't a lot of flexibility there anyway. But honestly, I feel pretty confident in all those guys. Um, there's really no position. I mean, Reese Hines has not really lived up to his potential, but I didn't see a need to make a change there. He's still so young. I'm hoping to roll with it and hoping that he can start kind of finding his swing. I don't need him to hit 270. I just want to see some power out of him, some run production.
Have you thought about sending him down to AAA and see if that helps wake up his bat or
I think we may have done that a little bit last year. I think, honestly, cannot remember because we got him in a trade with Pittsburgh. Uh, it was
in
early in
May,
the
the end
season.
of
I
May?
think this, when was it? I'm sorry.
At late May.
Late May. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't remember if we sent him down at any point or not. Uh, if he hits to start the season like he has in spring, yeah, there's a I would say a decent chance we send him down and give somebody else some innings at third base just to see if we can spark some offense. But if the team is rolling and he's struggling, I don't know if there'll be a need to make a change anyway. And just let him kind of ride it out.
Yeah. How you got this guy named Bryce Harper.
Yeah,
Uh, Great ratings, good stats, but he also eats up $38 million a year.
yeah.
How does that affect, you know, all the stuff that you do from here on out with him?
I don't want to use the word burden, but it's eating up a ton of our salary now. Thankfully, the Braves, generate pretty good revenue. We have a pretty high payroll, so we still have some flexibility. But quite frankly, despite some moves we've made this spring training or this off-season spring training to clear up some salary space, like including trading Strasburg, including trading McCulley. There were a couple other guys that were making a little bit less that we moved. So we cleared up some space for next year, but as of right now, we're still quite over budget for 2026. And Harper is definitely a large reason why. Uh, Honestly, I thought of moving him a couple of years ago when I first took over. I thought about making a move there, decided to ride it out. He had a really good year for us again last year. He had a really good spring. He's kind of irreplaceable in the lineup to some extent. I mean, he's despite the salary number, he's a really good player. He's getting that salary for a reason. Um, and so yes, it's hampering development past this year. And I've tried to make some moves and make some decisions, and I'm not entirely sure how we're going to approach 2026, but I'm just trying to focus on 2025, have a strong playoff run, and then we'll go from there.
Let 2026 worry about itself when you get there.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, I am worried, but I'm gonna
Oh,
at least
especially
get
when you
this
got
season.
guys like Rod Swift, who's going to go from 13 million to 30 million.
He is, and then we have an opt out after that. Then I think it drops back down to something in the 20s.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't know if he'll opt in or out. I'm sure it'll depend on how the team's doing and how he's doing, but uh, that was the only way we could extend him was the 13 to 30. We just didn't have enough salary space cleared for 2025 to make it more in the middle. So that was definitely a decision that was made knowing that it was going to eat us up a little bit in 2026. But I did feel that if we did not extend him, we were really going to have a hole in the rotation for this season that I didn't
yeah.
feel confident we were going to be able to fill otherwise with not much salary space to play with.
Hey, winning a championship solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, amen.
Well, they create new problems too with salaries and stuff like that, but neither one of us know anything about that right now. So hopefully one of us will figure that out in the future.
Hopefully.
um,
Although
to-
I think Houston is going to have something to say about that this season.
I think Houston's going to be pretty good. Unfortunately, they're in my division.
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
Yeah.
Prospects, who are you looking forward to seeing this year? Maybe not somebody who's going to make it to the majors, but ones that you're keeping your eye on for yourself.
That's one thing about our team is I don't know that there's anybody that is right on the cusp of coming up for us this year. But we did acquire some guys this off season that I'm pretty excited about, but most of them are at least a couple years away. And they're largely middle infielders. And so DeVries, I'm probably butchering that too, but he was an international free agent signing that I'm really excited about. But then we also brought in Caminero, and then we also brought in Carcaterra, all middle infielders, all at least a couple years away. And honestly, Carcaterra is probably 3 or 4 years away as of DeVries. So some guys I'm excited about, but nobody's going to make it anytime soon. Most of our pitching prospects, I don't feel like we really have any pitching prospects that are like future aces. I mean, we have some guys that can contribute, and maybe, especially if there's like injury, if we see an opportunity to clear, I don't want to say clear salary because I kind of have a plan for everybody that's there, but you never know what's going to pop up during the season. There's some guys we could bring up to replace, but we have, despite making some moves to pick up the guys I mentioned, we've really traded away a bunch of prospects trying to make this team ready for a playoff run and hopefully even further than that. And so prospect wise, there's not a ton of wealth there. I won't say it's completely depleted, but there's not a ton of wealth.
So how do you think the National League East is going to be won this year?
The Phillies bats last year were just pretty incredible. I don't think that pace is repeatable. However, do I think the Phillies are still going to be leading, potentially leading the NL East? Sure. I mean, they're the team. They've proven themselves. They're the team to beat. Do I think that the Braves have a chance to take them? I do. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we're definitely going to win the NL East and that the Phillies need to worry about us. But do I think that we have the potential to do that? I do. Yeah.
Well, it's always
But
important to
also,
have confidence in
for
your
what
team.
it's worth, the Mets had a really good spring. I know spring records really mean nothing, but you have to wonder what the Mets are going to do this year too.
Well, and for those of us who have not had very good teams lately, sometimes you rely on the spring
Yeah,
to have a good, like my team had the best record in the American League for the whole spring training.
there you go.
Doesn't mean
Well, and
anything.
you made a lot of really good moves too. So I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons that Sacramento has a chance to definitely make some noise.
We'll see how that goes with the big three in the division. So, um, how do you think your outlook is for 2025 and then moving beyond 2025?
Well, I do think we're a playoff team. Whether we will win the pennant, that's remains to be seen. I think there's the chance. But I'm going into the year planning to make the playoffs unless we have some sort of horrible injury bug that hits the team or something of that nature. I think the team is built for a playoff run. 2026, there are a lot of question marks. Um, quite frankly, I feel like this is a make or break season for us. Um, if this team is not doing well this summer, and we're looking like it's a long shot to make the playoffs, knowing what our payroll is for 2026 on paper, I think there's a good chance some moves get made. So these first 2 or 3 months of the season are going to be pretty crucial.
Yeah, let's look at your schedule here. San Diego, LA, Miami, then the big one against Philadelphia, Tampa Bay. So, Toronto, Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah. If I remember right, I was looking at it. I think April's pretty tough. I was thinking, if I remember right, May was looking a little more palatable. Like maybe we can make some moves in May. Um, and so I think May is where it's really going to be important. Now you never know what teams are actually going to be. You're thinking about what they were last year, and of course things can change very quickly. But I feel like if May is a season where we don't perform well, then we might really be in trouble.
So, are you already starting a trading block
No, no, we're not.
that
Nowhere.
you want to put out there to everybody that they can hear? No.
No, not getting that far yet. I mean, I really do think it's a playoff team. However, I'm just being realistic into what we're going to need to do if we're not meeting expectations.
So, if you're worried about one of your starters, which starter would it be?
Starting rotation, like pitching.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I am a little worried about Rivera. He had a really good year last year. I think we might have been pitching him SP3 a lot of last year, or at least down the stretch. I've slotted him back to SP4. He had a decent but not great spring. Um, if I remember right, he's just a three-pitch pitcher. Uh, I don't, let's. I shouldn't like throw my own players under the bus. I don't love Rivera. Uh, at SP4, I'm content with him. If he can just throw a lot of innings, and be effective. But I'll say I'm not in love with Rivera in the rotation.
And then, who would you say is your one player who, if he has a good year, you're in good shape, but if he has, bad year, you're in trouble?
Well, Harper for one, but looking beyond Harper, I would say Rod Swift. Rod Swift is absolutely crucial to our success this year, which is why we gave him that $13 to $30 million extension. Um, if if he doesn't have an SP1, ace kind of year, we're done for.
That's hard.
Yeah,
You know,
it's not a great. I mean, it's not a great place to be. He has had those years in the past, and he's not that old, so there's no reason to think that he can't repeat it, in my opinion.
right.
But was he an ace? Was he a true ace last year? No, he wasn't. So I need him to kind of bounce back a little bit.
Okay. Well, any other insights you want to give us into the Braves this year, or any other team, or any, whatever's going on behind the scenes?
Um, for us, I'm excited about some of the. It's mostly veterans on the team, but I am excited about some of the young guys that are going to be making rookie seasons this year. Our backup catcher is going to be a rookie, who I think he's played in like 6 or 7 major league games, but he still has rookie status. Um, and we have such a great starting catcher in Doug Smith that he won't be asked to do a lot, but I think he has a lot of potential. Of course, Eric Rodriguez being a rookie starting, it'll be his major league debut on opening day leading off. So that's pretty exciting. And I think he'll be a pretty flashy center fielder for us. Then we have a couple of rookies in the bullpen that both had good springs and I think have a lot of potential. And the bullpen, I'm actually, famous last words, but I'm actually pretty excited about the bullpen. Um, I was last year too, and the bullpen wasn't great, but I think that was largely because the defense wasn't ready to back them up. Bullpen had a really good spring, and I'm pretty excited about that. Because there were quite a few games last year that we lost late. So hopefully that's going to reverse our fortunes. Uh, as far as the league as a whole, I do think there's going to be some teams that maybe struggle this year that have had really good history. And then I think there's some teams that maybe haven't had a lot of success till now that are going to have some really good seasons. Sacramento, quite frankly, being one of them. Not to say that you've struggled, but you haven't been in the playoff hunt necessarily for the last couple of seasons, and I think you very well may be this year. I touched on it earlier, but I do think just looking at performance in the spring and the roster and the moves they've made, I think Houston's going to be really hard to beat. Really, really hard to beat. I mean, you never know what's going to happen in the season, but they look pretty tough.
Yeah, I know I asked you if you wanted to come on the prediction show on Wednesday, and you say, I don't do that stuff. But if you had to make a prediction,
Mm-hmm.
who wins the AL, who wins the NL, who wins the World Series? Just throw some darts.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say Houston wins the AL. Not to say they're going to walk away with it, but I do think they win the AL. The NL, I mean, it's hard to say the Phillies don't repeat, even though I think that we have a chance to be there with them. You know, but I don't. I I feel like I have to say it's the Phillies just because they did it last year. They didn't really lose anybody that or not anybody that was not replaceable. Um, so I'm going to say Houston and Philadelphia in the World Series, but I do think Houston. I think this is their year, and I think
Okay.
they'll have the league MVP too, and Gonzalez.
It was like Gonzalez. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they probably have 3 or 4 candidates who are going to
yeah,
be
yeah, they do.
in the running for it. So same with Philadelphia in the National League. So uh, yeah, it's going to be an interesting season coming up.
Yeah, I'm
And
excited.
yeah, and we look forward to seeing how the Braves end up doing, and hopefully you'll be fighting for a playoff spot come September, and maybe even win a playoff series or two. And
That'd be nice.
we'll have to catch up again during the year
Yeah.
and see from now to then and see how things are going. But in the meantime, you got a lot of moving to do, unfortunately, and but it'll happen and it'll get done. Just it may cost you some MLB Pro time in the Slack chat room.
Here and there, but honestly, once the moving is large, I actually have more time now that I'm working from home and I'm not constantly, being in the retail store and I constantly have to deal with customers and phone calls and all that. To being here and just having to watch after my dog is quite a different ambiance, to say the least.
Well, if things start struggling, you just ask the dog to help you set your lineup, and you might
Yeah,
be in
yeah,
good shape. Yeah.
I
Was
think
there
she could
any?
pull it off.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else you want to say before we sign off this afternoon?
Oh, not really. I mean, I just appreciate you having me. It's been fun to do this. I know we did it. I think it was last season. I hope to come on with you a little bit more. Like I said, now that I have a little more freedom to do so, and yeah, it's been fun, Scott. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on and sharing all about the Braves. And like I said, hopefully we'll be talking in September about a playoff run.
Hopefully, your lips to God's ears.
Yeah, hopefully God's listening then. So,
Yeah, I think
all
he has
right.
more important things to worry about, but let's hope he at least throws me a bone.
Yeah, exactly. Once in a while, just. So, all right, Jonathan. Well, it was nice chatting with you, and we'll catch up in a few weeks or a month or whenever you want to get back on.
Well, thanks again, Scott. I really appreciate it.
All right.